A nonprofit organization in Jamaica Plain has received new financial support from a national arts foundation. The object is to integrate arts and culture into community planning and development for the neighborhood's Latin Quarter in Hyde Square. To tell us about the project are two guests from the Hyde Square Task Force, the Director of Arts and Cultural Programs, Brenda Rodriguez-Andújar, and the Director of Engagement and Organizing, Tangvik. Thank you both very much for being with us.
Thank you for having us, Chris.
I want to start with Brenda. For people who are not as familiar with Hyde Square, the Latin Quarter, what's been going on there so far?
Well, you know, over the past few months, we've really been working hard with the community to make sure that the richness of Afro-Latin arts is shared throughout the community, that there are activities for people of all ages and backgrounds happening, bringing people together and really bringing and having youth at the center of bringing all these offerings to the community.
Ken, I guess the idea is to take this a step further, up to a higher level, and you had to make a really competitive presentation here. So how did this particular proposal stand out?
Well, I think it stood out because our vision is very clear. There were over 1,300 groups across the country who competed for these 38 awards, and so we were ecstatic when we found out. We made the final 80. We found that out in the winter, and then we went back with our final proposal, and we just got word, you know, a week ago we were one of the 38 groups across the country. And I think our vision is very clear. I think we showed that there's a need in Boston for a rich Latin Quarter in Boston now. The Latino population has pretty much exploded in our city in the last couple of decades. And, you know, Hyde Jackson Square was one of probably the area that has a rich history of Latino immigration that goes back to the 60s. Cubans and then Puerto Ricans, and you know, wave after wave, Central Americans, and then a great wave of Dominicans over the last decade and a half. And so we had the history, we had a clear vision, and we had very good relationships with a lot of Afro-Latin artists in the area as well.
Brenda, I'm familiar with this part of town, so I've always thought of the population, the business. It just reflects what's around in the immediate area, but I guess you also want to make this kind of a destination.
Yes, and you know, as a person who grew up in the neighborhood, lived there almost all my life, and now, you know, I work there, and you know, it's not the same neighborhood that it once was years ago, but really at the center of this project is really about preserving that rich Latin culture and history of that neighborhood. And you know, as you said, yeah, we're trying our best to make sure that everything that we're doing is reflecting and sharing that history with everyone, and really making it a place to go. Like, you can go and, for example, see an outdoor concert at our Viva Latin Quarter series, and then go across the street to any of the Latin restaurants and, you know, have a wonderful dinner, and then, you know, a little bit later on, go to the park and, you know, look at some of the beautiful murals and things like that in the neighborhood. And that's definitely what we are aiming for with this project.
Ken, Hyde Square Task Force has been involved in youth development since the beginning, but how does this program give you more ability to help kids?
Yeah, well, you know, over the last couple years, it became clear to us that arts is probably the best way that we've found to engage at-risk youth. Through the arts, we've found that kids can find their voices. And once a teen finds their voice, all sorts of magic starts to happen. And so we have, you know, we have kids in theater program, in dance, and in music, and you see the discipline. You see them start to fall in love with the art, staying later hours to practice on their pieces, and then mastering skills and performing in the community, and then even taking it to another level of teaching younger children in the community those artistic skills, and also becoming an advocate for themselves, advocates for the arts as they've experienced what arts can do, and then also advocates for the Latin Quarter as well, as a place that can maintain and preserve and celebrate Afro-Latin art.
But this isn't just about, let's say, Latin culture is something you know from around the house. This is out in the community. It defines your place in the world. You're giving these kids a different instrument, really.
No, it really is. And for some, it for those that, you know, are new to this country and are in our programs now, it's their connection to home. For others, it's reconnecting to their cultural history. So for example, there are many young people in our programs also that they might have been born here, and there's a little bit of a disconnect to their cultural roots and backgrounds. And by participating in our programs and, you know, being a part of such a big project like this, it's giving them that connection that they might have not have had. So it's a wonderful, you know, opportunity for all of our young people to be involved. And for those that aren't of Latino background, it's a way, like I said, for them to learn of another culture. And this whole project is all about people learning and appreciating one another's cultures. You know, yes, a lot of the focus is on Latino arts, but it's really about bringing people together of different backgrounds, different economic statuses, different religions, whatever. It's really about bringing a diverse group of people together and utilizing the arts to do that.
Ken, what about the possibilities of growth here too? Because you know, it could get a little difficult to handle if it really is successful, but what about jobs, new businesses?
Yeah, you know, the way we look at it, Chris, there's a lot of things going on in Hyde Jackson. We have a $250 million Jackson Square development project, which is only about a third of it is currently built. So there's going to be several hundred units of housing coming in there. There's several other large housing developments that are being constructed as we speak on South Huntington Ave. And, you know, the way we look at it, if we can make our neighborhood a place where both local neighbors come out to events and we are a destination place for other places, for the greater Boston, then we're going to get people, and we've seen it already, when we have large outdoor events, like as Brenda was saying, people want to listen to the music, see the dance performance, then they want to eat somewhere, they want to stroll around. And so we brought our youth to the North End, we brought them to Chinatown, and we said, this is what we want to develop here. We want to consciously make this effort to create a destination place. And yes, it will provide more restaurants, more job opportunities, and frankly, more artists to making a living through performing and teaching.
Brenda, finally, if people want to find out more about this as it rolls out, I guess you've got a website with some updates people can check out?
Yes, they could go to www.hydesquare, and that's HYDE square.org. And they can find out more information about how the project is going. And they can also learn about our Viva Latin Quarter series, which is, like I said, a family-friendly series of events that happens every Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday.
Right. Thank you very, very much for being with us, Brenda Rodriguez-Andújar and
you.
Ken Tangvik from the Hyde Square Task Force. We'll have more news in just a moment.